I don't like it. Then what kind do you like? Before I could answer, I heard her voice again. Someone like Jiling Shuang. My back stiffened. How did Jia Yunshu know about Jiling Shuang? Could it be that Jiling Shuang already knew we were married and had come looking for her? Panic welled up inside me. Jia Yunshu held me tightly, immediately noticing that my body had gone noticeably rigid. It seemed Ellie hadn't lied to her. The person in my heart really was Jiling Shuang. Jia Yunshu looked up at me, her eyes filled with jealousy. "Why, is Jiling Shuang really that wonderful? Could you try liking me instead? I'm sure I'm no worse than Jiling Shuang. We can try being together for a while. Maybe you'll discover that you'll be happier with me." I stared blankly at Jia Yunshu. After knowing her for so long, this was the first time I'd ever seen her speak so humbly. I laughed. With a hint of coldness in my eyes, I said, "During those 2 years when I had amnesia, I dreamed every day that you'd look at me a little more. If you'd said these words to me back then, I would have thrown myself into your arms without hesitation." Jia Yunshu tightened her embrace. "Why not now?" I shook my head. "Because I've remembered. The person I love isn't you. The person I love isn't you." Those 7 simple words made Jia Yunshu feel as if her heart hurt so much she couldn't breathe. The pain was even worse than the poison raging through her wounds. She looked at me. "If you don't love me, then why did you come all the way here in the middle of the night?" I fell silent. "If I'd known you weren't seriously hurt, I wouldn't have come. You found the real ice jade flower for me. No matter what, I should personally come and thank you." A trace of loneliness flashed across Jia Yunshu's eyes. "Just saying thank you isn't enough. Then, what do you want?" "My wound hurts. Just let me hold you. That'll be enough to thank me." I rolled my eyes. I figured Jia Yunshu was just fooling around, but I didn't say anything else. After all, she was a patient now. I decided to indulge her this once. That was how I convinced myself. Time passed little by little. I hadn't been sleeping well lately. Held in Jia Yunshu's arms, listening to her steady breathing, I soon became drowsy. In the middle of the night, I woke up from the heat. The moment I opened my eyes, Jia Yunshu's face was right in front of me. She was still holding me. Her body temperature was unusually high. I immediately realized something was wrong. I reached up and touched her forehead. "Jia Yunshu, you have a fever." She was still half asleep, her mind still hazy. She took hold of my hand. "I'm fine." I immediately got up and checked her temperature. It was only a low-grade fever. When I came, I had brought my medical kit with me. After giving her some fever medicine, I took out my acupuncture needles and inserted one into the Kuchi acupoint on Jia Yunshu's left arm. However, when I removed the needle, the puncture site suddenly began bleeding nonstop. I had complete confidence in my acupuncture skills. There was no way I had hit the wrong acupoint. Besides, acupuncture needles are as fine as a strand of hair. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't cause bleeding. I pressed a piece of gauze against the bleeding spot. I thought it would stop in no time. But after applying pressure for nearly 10 minutes, the blood still wouldn't stop flowing. The puncture wound was tiny, so there wasn't much blood, but it couldn't keep bleeding like this. I took some hemostatic ointment from my medical kit and applied it. Only then did the bleeding finally stop. "Jia Yunshu, how are you feeling?" I gently patted Jia Yunshu's cheek. Jia Yunshu slowly opened her eyes. Her usually cool and beautiful eyes were now clouded and unfocused. She spoke weakly. "Why, are you trying to hurt me to death?" My heart tightened. "It hurts, Jia Yunshu." "Where does it hurt?" Jia Yunshu took a moment to recover, then took my hand and placed it over her heart. "Here. It hurts terribly." "Jia Yunshu, stop joking around." I was worried sick, yet she was still joking. Jia Yunshu caressed my face. Her eyes filled with affection. "Why, I like seeing you worry about me. But I also can't bear to make you worry." She sighed and chuckled softly. "All right, I admit it. I'm not in pain, and I'm fine. I only said that because I wanted you to worry about me." I glared at her helplessly, still somewhat doubtful. "Are you really all right?" "I'm fine. I'm just a little sleepy." I checked my phone. It was already 3 in the morning. She pulled me back onto the bed. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. Every so often, I checked Jia Yunshu's temperature. Fortunately, just before dawn, her temperature finally returned to normal. Seeing that the person beside me was finally sleeping more peacefully, I breathed a sigh of relief. I turned on the light and was about to get up to use the bathroom when my gaze unintentionally fell on her left arm. The hemostatic ointment I had applied to her arm had turned dark black. My pupils contracted. This ointment was a secret formula passed down to me by my master. It was highly effective at stopping bleeding. I remembered my master saying that the ointment had another remarkable use. It could detect poison if the ointment was applied to a bleeding wound and turned black within 3 hours. It meant there were toxins in the blood. I sat up and rubbed a little of the blackened ointment from her arm between my fingers, then smelled it. There was no foul odor, which meant the toxin in Jia Yunshu's blood wasn't highly poisonous. Then what kind of poison had she been exposed to? What's wrong? The movement of me sitting up woke Jia Yunshu, who had not been sleeping deeply. I gently patted her shoulder. It's nothing. I'm thirsty. I'm going downstairs for some water. Go back to sleep. I left the bedroom and went downstairs, but instead of going to the kitchen, I headed straight for the backyard, to the detached building where the family doctor lived. Jia Yunshu was definitely hiding something from me. I went into the doctor's office and inside a desk drawer, found Jia Yunshu's medical records. Severe gunshot wound to the right forearm. Massive bleeding during surgery, with difficulty achieving hemostasis. Excessive blood loss. 2,000 cc of blood transfused. Coagulation function damaged. The further I read, the colder my entire body felt. When I reached the final page, I felt as if I had fallen into an icy abyss. Setting sun. I froze completely. Jia Yunshu had actually been poisoned with setting sun. I had heard about this poison a long time ago. Some organizations used it to interrogate traitors or prisoners. Anyone poisoned with it, even from the slightest needle prick, would suffer unbearable agony. Worst of all, once a wound appeared on the body, it would bleed continuously and become extremely difficult to heal. I remembered how she had held me last night and said she was in pain, and my heart clenched painfully. She hadn't been pretending. She truly had been in pain. When I touched the wound on her arm, and when I performed acupuncture on her, she had actually been in excruciating pain. That agony was no less intense than an attack of Bone King poison, and painkillers were completely ineffective against it. Yet even while suffering that much, she had still held tightly onto me, refusing to let go. I hurried back to the bedroom. The moment I entered, I saw Jia Yunshu getting out of bed, apparently preparing to leave. Jia Yunshu, get back in bed. I immediately pointed at her and shouted. Jia Yunshu froze. She didn't understand why I had suddenly become so angry. Jiwai, what are you doing? Don't you know what condition you're in right now? I quickly ran over and helped her sit back down on the bed. Jia Yunshu stared at me. You hadn't come back upstairs, so I was afraid you'd left. My heart felt as though it had been pierced. My eyes began to sting. If I hadn't discovered it myself. Were you planning to hide it from me forever? Were you going to die without ever telling me you'd been poisoned by setting sun? Jia Yunshu fell silent. She had underestimated me. She hadn't expected me to discover it after only one night. Jia Yunshu sighed. Jihuai, I'm sorry. I just didn't want you to worry about me. A wave of bitterness surged through me. I said sternly, Jia Yunshu, from this moment on, you are not allowed to tell me a single lie. Otherwise, don't ever expect to see me again. Jia Yunshu nodded. All right, I'll use acupuncture to temporarily block the pain. It will hurt a little at first, but it'll pass soon. Bear with it. Jia Yunshu looked at me. Okay, I trust you. Do whatever you think is necessary. I nodded and took out the acupuncture needles. I began sealing the pain nerves throughout her body. It required more than a dozen needles. Every needle was torture for Jia Yunshu. By the 7th needle, her back was already drenched in cold sweat from the pain. I couldn't bear to let her suffer any longer. So I inserted a needle into her sleep acupoint and made her fall unconscious. Only after she had fallen into a deep sleep did I administer the remaining needles. After finishing the last few needles, I stayed by the bed for a while, then went downstairs. After breakfast, I returned to Jia Yunshu's bedroom. She still hadn't woken up. I drew several milliliters of her blood and took it to the laboratory for testing. At 10 o'clock that morning, Jia Yunshu finally woke up. As soon as she opened her eyes, I helped her sit up. How are you feeling now? Much better. Jia Yunshu gently moved her injured arm. It doesn't hurt anymore. I've blocked your pain nerves. You can't feel pain for the time being. So it's not that it doesn't hurt, it's that you can't feel it. The pain nerves can't stay blocked for long. 3 days is the limit. I held Jia Yunshu's hand. Jia Yunshu, don't worry. I'll definitely save you. Jia Yunshu gently stroked my face. The medical team is already developing an antidote. Don't worry. I nodded. After hesitating for a moment, I asked, Jia Yunshu, how did you get poisoned with setting sun? Jia Yunshu replied calmly, an enemy set me up. She didn't know that I already knew she had been poisoned while trying to get the ice jade flower from me. A hint of relief flashed across my eyes as I asked, has that enemy been dealt with? Yes, that finally put my mind at ease. Without the ability to feel pain, Jia Yunshu looked much more relaxed. She was even able to get out of bed and walk. After lunch, I took a walk with her in the garden. Then I held a meeting with her medical team. The toxin from setting sun would not decrease through the body's metabolism. Instead, it would continue accumulating. If it wasn't neutralized within 10 days of poisoning, it would become far more difficult to cure completely later on. The doctors discussed it all afternoon, but in the end, they still couldn't come up with a feasible solution. That afternoon, Jia Yunshu's blood test report came back. I stared at the data for a long time, then finally called Kiao Kiao. The phone rang for a long time, just when I thought no one would answer. The call finally connected. Hello? Kiao Kiao, it's me. Before I could finish speaking, Kiao Kiao's voice came through the phone. Shihui, you've really gotten me into trouble. I hurriedly asked, what happened? Did something go wrong? What else could it be? It's because of the thing you asked me to steal last time. I've never met anyone so persistent. She's been chasing me for almost a month and still won't give up. I raised an eyebrow. You mean Zhang Xinru? Kiao Kiao had stolen a 117 from Zhang Xinru. Zhang Xinru had made a solemn promise to Jia Yunshu that she would definitely retrieve it. Who else could it be? Recently, I've been hiding everywhere and nearly got caught several times. She's driving me crazy. Kiao Kiao, is A117 still with you? Yes, I've already contacted Yuan. She'll come personally to collect it in today's. Wait, I hurriedly stopped her. Kiao Kiao, return A117 to Zhang Xinru. Have her bring it back. I urgently need it. The only method I could think of to neutralize the poison in Jia Yunshu's body was to fight poison with poison. This detoxification method required A117. Kiao Kiao was clearly stunned on the other end. GY, what do you need it for? I have a use for it. Kiao Kiao paused. Then how are you going to explain this to Ji Lingshuang? You know she needs A117 badly too. I had heard that Ji Lingshuang needed A117 to save a child. I already knew about that. That was why, when I learned Jia Yunshu had bought A117, I immediately contacted Kiao Kiao and asked her to steal it. But now Jia Yunshu needed it too. She urgently needed A117 to save her life. I remained silent for a moment. I'll explain it to her personally. Just find a way to give A117 to Zhang Xinru. Alright, given Ji Lingshuang's attitude toward me, if I use A117, she probably wouldn't be too angry. Thanks for the trouble. No problem. Treat me to a meal next time. After chatting briefly with Kiao Kiao, I ended the call. Next, now all that remained was to wait for Zhang Xinru to bring A117 back. I went to find Jia Yunshu at Solomon's auction last time. Didn't you buy A117? It can be used to formulate an antidote. Jia Yunshu shook her head and said, A117 was stolen. It still hasn't been recovered. Really? I feigned surprise and rubbed my nose. Do you know who stole it? Zhang Xinru is investigating it. I don't know how much progress she's made. As Jia Yunshu spoke, she picked up her phone and sent Zhang Xinru a message. The other party was probably busy and didn't reply immediately. Jia Yunshu put down her phone and asked me, are you sure A117 can neutralize the setting sun poison? A117 was a mysterious chemical substance. Some said it was poisonous. Others claimed that it possessed powerful cellular repair and regenerative abilities. There were many rumors surrounding it. Over the years, many people on the black market had tried to purchase it through various channels, but because it was extremely rare, it remained almost impossible to obtain. Jia Yunshu had bought A117 because she intended to study its composition. I'm sure, thanks to Ji Lingshuang, I had already gained a certain understanding of A117's effects long ago. That evening, Jia Yunshu received a call from Zhang Xinru. She said that A117 had already been recovered and would be brought back the next day. I breathed a sigh of relief and began preparing the other ingredients for the antidote. Ellie planned to return to Country E the next day. There were still matters there that required her attention. The following day, After seeing Ellie off, I drove to the traditional medicine market. After buying the medicine, I had just gotten into the car when an email arrived on my phone. It contained a video. I had watched less than 10 seconds. When my pupils suddenly contracted, my entire body felt as though it had plunged into an icy abyss. In the video, Jia Yunshu stood motionless in front of Isaac, taking the bullet he fired at her. She didn't dodge at all. The bullet struck her right forearm, and blood immediately poured out. One of Isaac's men handed her a glass. "What kind of poison is this, Ms. Jia? As long as you drink this poison, I'll give you the ice jade flower." Then Jia Yunshu drank the poison without the slightest hesitation. "Jia Yunshu, don't." The moment I saw Jia Yunshu drink the poison, my heart clenched violently. She hadn't even frowned before drinking it all. What if it had been an instantly fatal poison? Even without the ice jade flower, I would only suffer for 24 hours whenever the poison flared up. There was no need for that fool to risk her life for it. What had she been thinking? She said she had been injured by an enemy and poisoned after being set up, but she had clearly stood there without moving and let herself be used as a living target. She had even drunk the setting sun poison. She had done all of it to obtain the ice jade flower from me. My vision blurred. My entire body trembled uncontrollably. As tears streamed down my face, I sped all the way back to Eugene Villa. The moment I got out of the car, I ran toward Jia Yunshu's bedroom. However, no one was inside. Before leaving, I had told her to rest properly. How could she disappear in such a short time? A servant cleaning the hallway spoke up. "Sir, Miss Shen is here. She and Ms. Jia are discussing something in the study." Hearing that, I immediately went to the study. I didn't even knock. I pushed the study door open directly. Jia Yunshu was sitting behind the desk, holding a document and discussing something with Shen Qianing. When she saw me, she froze. "Ji Huai, you're back." I walked in. My eyes were red as I looked at her. "Jia Yunshu, didn't I tell you to get some proper rest? Do you even realize what condition you're in?" The moment I thought about how she had taken a bullet from Isaac just to get the ice jade flower from me, and even drank the setting sun poison, my heart ached so badly I could barely breathe. Didn't she say she didn't love me? Wasn't I just someone she found interesting? Was it really worth going this far? Even risking her life? Seeing that something was wrong with me, Jia Yunshu pulled me into her arms. "Ji Huai, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please don't cry." Whenever I cried, it felt like her heart was breaking. I hugged Jia Yunshu tightly. All my emotions came flooding out, and tears streamed down my face. "You need to rest. You can't overexert yourself. Do you understand? Jia Yunshu, you idiot." Looking at Jia Yunshu, I realized that if it weren't for me, she wouldn't be like this now. It was all my fault. Jia Yunshu gently rubbed my head. "All right, don't cry anymore. I'll go back to my room and rest now." Then Jia Yunshu looked at Shen Qianing. "You handle this matter. Zhang Xinru will be back soon. If anything comes up, discuss it with her." "All right." Shen Qianing nodded, then turned to me. "Ji Huai, Ms. Jia said you have a way to cure the setting sun poison." I glanced at Shen Qianing. "Don't bother her unless it's necessary. She needs to rest." After saying that, I took Jia Yunshu back to the bedroom. Shen Qianing sighed speechlessly. She wished she hadn't come. Back in the bedroom, I checked Jia Yunshu's temperature and made her stay in bed to rest. Holding my hand, Jia Yunshu apologized softly. "I made you worry." Her tone was cautious, as if she were afraid of upsetting me again. "Jia Yunshu, you idiot." The gentler she was, the more heartbroken I felt. Jia Yunshu chuckled softly and took a tissue to wipe away my tears. "Ji Huai, you're the first person to ever call me an idiot." "That's because you are one." Jia Yunshu looked at me affectionately. "Fine. If you say I am, then I am." I stared at her, my tears continuing to fall uncontrollably. "Why are you crying again, Ji Huai?" Jia Yunshu finally realized that something was wrong with me. "Tell me, did something happen?" I shook my head. "Jia Yunshu, why? Why did you do it?" Jia Yunshu froze slightly and took hold of my hand. "What do you mean, why?" I shook off Jia Yunshu's hand, my face flushed with anger. "How much longer were you planning to hide it from me?" Jia Yunshu stared blankly at me, a sense of foreboding rising within her. Could he already know everything? The next moment, she heard me cry in a hoarse voice. "I know how you got the gunshot wound on your arm, and I know how you were poisoned. Jia Yunshu's body stiffened, and she was suddenly unable to speak. She had intended to hide this from me forever. But in the end, I had still found out. Jia Yunshu looked at my tear-streaked face and sighed inwardly. Ji Huai, I didn't want you to feel burdened. I chose to do all of this for you. With my head lowered and my eyes red, I asked, why? Jia Yunshu, we're already divorced. Why would you? Jia Yunshu sighed again and cupped my face. Ji Huai, if I had known I would fall in love with you, I never would have divorced you. My eyes widened abruptly as I stared at Jia Yunshu in disbelief. Jia Yunshu gently wiped away my tears and spoke slowly, one word at a time. Ji Huai, Jia Yunshu, in this lifetime, the thing I regret most in this life is divorcing you, and the thing I regret least is falling in love with you. My lips trembled. Jia Yunshu, what did you say? I said the thing I regret most in this life is divorcing you. No, not that. The other part. I struggled to hold back my tears. You said. Jia Yunshu realized what I meant and said, if I had known I would fall in love with you, I never would have divorced you. After a brief pause, Jia Yunshu said again, Ji Huai, I love you. It was the first time she had said those 3 words to me so solemnly and directly. I stared at Jia Yunshu, as if I had been struck by lightning. Too shocked to speak, she said she loved me. Jia Yunshu loved me. How was that possible? Didn't she already have someone she loved in her heart? A faint smile appeared on my lips. Yunshu, you're joking with me, aren't you? Jia Yunshu placed both hands on my shoulders and said seriously, this isn't a joke. Ji Huai, I'm confessing my feelings to you. A confession. I bit the tip of my tongue. It hurt. I wasn't dreaming. I blinked. Jia Yunshu, do you really like me? When I saw that video, I had already roughly guessed how Jia Yunshu felt about me, but I still couldn't bring myself to believe it. Even now, with Jia Yunshu telling me herself that she loved me, I still couldn't easily believe it. Wasn't the person Jia Yunshu loved Achi, the man she had never stopped thinking about, whom she would never give up searching for, even if it took her whole life? Jia Yunshu looked directly into my eyes and nodded. Yes, I like you. It has to be you. I looked at Jia Yunshu with mixed emotions, then suddenly raised my hand and touched her forehead. Do you have a fever or something? Jia Yunshu, look carefully. I'm Ji Huai. Not. Jia Yunshu didn't know whether to laugh or cry at my reaction. Ji Huai, I don't have a fever. I'm perfectly clear-headed. The person I like isn't anyone else. It's you, Ji Huai. I stared at Jia Yunshu, unable to describe what I was feeling. Part of me was happy. Jia Yunshu had finally fallen in love with me, but another part of me felt regret. By the time she fell for me, we were already divorced, and I had already decided to give up my feelings for her. Ji Huai, Jia Yunshu reached out to caress my cheek, but I moved away. Jia Yunshu, I remember telling you that I already have someone I like. Jia Yunshu's eyes dimmed slightly as she lowered her hand. I know. I lowered my gaze and was about to speak when Jia Yunshu interrupted me. But so what? As long as you haven't married someone else, I have the right to pursue you. I have confidence in myself. Sooner or later, we'll be together. I looked at Jia Yunshu. Ms. Jia, being too confident isn't a good thing. Be careful it doesn't come back to embarrass you. Jia Yunshu chuckled softly. Ji Huai, can you honestly say you don't have any feelings for me? If you truly don't, why did you stay? And why were you crying so sadly just now? I'm not a cold-blooded animal. Of course I have feelings. You saved me and helped me recover the ice jade flower. I owe you for that. As for why I cried just now, I was simply moved by what you did. Don't read too much into it. Jia Yunshu stared into my eyes. Ji Huai, you're saying the opposite of what you truly feel. The more I tried to explain, the less Jia Yunshu believed what I said. Your eyes can't lie. They've already betrayed your true feelings. I felt as though she had seen right through me. I quickly looked away, stood up, and took a few steps back. Get some rest. I'm going to prepare the medicine. With that, I turned and left. Just as I reached the door, Jia Yunshu's voice came from behind me again. Ji Huai, I won't give up. I said nothing and walked out. Jia Yunshu remained motionless, staring at the closed door. Her cool, beautiful eyes were as deep as a lake, tinged with a trace of coldness. She picked up her phone and called Jingshu. Come to my room. Less than 2 minutes after hanging up, Jingshu arrived. Miss, you wanted to see me? Jia Yunshu looked at him, her gaze icy to the extreme. Who told Ji Huai about the ice jade flower? Only a handful of her trusted subordinates knew about that matter. Sheng Qianing had been discussing business with her at the time, so it couldn't have been her who told me. Jingshu hurriedly replied, Miss, you gave strict orders that no one was to tell anyone about this. None of us dared breathe a single word, let alone tell Mr. Ji. Jia Yunshu frowned. If that's the case, then how did Ji Huai find out? A moment earlier, Sheng Qianing had told her that Isaac had fallen into Solomon's hands, so even if she investigated, she wouldn't be able to learn anything from them. After coming downstairs, I went to the medical room in the backyard. I said I was going to prepare medicine, but in truth, I just wanted some time alone to calm myself down. Yunshu's sudden confession had completely caught me off guard. I really needed time to process it. Back in the bedroom. Then what about Achi? What place did Achi hold in her heart now? Was she still searching for him? But I didn't have the courage to ask. After all, he was the unforgettable first love she had loved for 5 years. That evening, Zhang Shenru finally returned with A117. I immediately examined all 3 vials. After confirming they were genuine, I hurried to prepare the antidote for Jia Yunshu. I worked through the night to make it. A117 consisted of 3 vials, each containing 50 milliliters. Just as I was about to begin mixing the medicine, the phone beside me suddenly rang. I picked it up and looked. My heart immediately tightened. It was Ji Lingshuang calling. I glanced at the A117 on the table. She was probably calling at this moment. Because of it, I hesitated for a long moment, but eventually answered the call. Hello. The next moment, an icy voice came through the phone. Darling husband, how have you been lately? The moment I heard that form of address, I knew her second personality had awakened. Ji Lingshuang, I'm not your husband. How could you not be? We already bowed to heaven and earth. I was speechless. Please speak normally. When had I ever performed wedding rites with her? Ji Lingshuang snorted coldly on the other end. I knew you turned your back on me and refused to acknowledge it. You heartless man. I couldn't be bothered arguing with her and changed the subject. Why exactly did you call me? Kiao Kiao said you took A117 away. Ji Lingshuang's languid voice came through the phone. Yes, I paused, then explained, Ji Lingshuang, I urgently need A117 right now. So, before I could finish, she interrupted me. I don't care what you need it for. You have 1 week to send it back to me. I gripped the phone tightly. Ji Lingshuang, I really need A117. Please let me have it. Ji Lingshuang fell silent for a moment. There was no emotion in her voice. What do you need it for? I paused. I've been poisoned with setting sun. I need A117 to make the antidote. I absolutely couldn't let her know that Jia Yunshu was the one who had been poisoned. Otherwise, given her personality, she would never let the matter go. Setting sun poison? Ji Lingshuang's voice rose involuntarily. How did you get poisoned with that? It's a little complicated. Once I'm done dealing with everything here, I'll return and explain it to you personally. Since I had taken A117 this time, I would have to go back no matter what. Ji Lingshuang laughed, her tone filled with mockery. I'm curious. Who could possibly be so capable that they managed to poison you? All right, you win. Stop making fun of me. Ji Lingshuang snorted softly. Darling, we haven't seen each other in 2 years. Have you completely forgotten what kind of person I am? My heart instantly filled with guilt. Then I heard Ji Lingshuang's icy voice. The thing I hate most is being deceived. Bone King poison is the king of all poisons, the ancestor of every toxin. Since you've already been poisoned with Bone King poison, even a poison 10 times stronger than setting sun wouldn't harm you in the slightest. My heart skipped a beat. I was just about to speak when Ji Lingshuang's furious roar came through the phone. You need A117 to cure setting sun poison. Who the hell are you trying to fool? How could I have forgotten? Ji Lingshuang's knowledge of pharmacology was no less profound than mine. Ji Huai, I'm giving you 1 week. If you don't bring A117 back to me within a week, I'll make you regret it. Ji Lingshuang, no. Listen to me. Hello. Hello. She had already hung up. I stared dejectedly at my phone. I felt completely overwhelmed. Given Ji Lingshuang's personality, if I disobeyed her and failed to bring A117 back, she would definitely be furious, and the consequences of her anger I shuddered. They were not something I could endure. But I also couldn't give up. Using A117 to save Jia Yunshu, I stared at the A117 on the table, caught in an impossible dilemma. Kyoto, Huaxia. I stayed up the entire night. It wasn't until noon the next day that I finally came out of the lab after compounding the medicine. Jia Yunshu had been waiting outside for me since early morning. The moment she saw me, she hurriedly took me to the restaurant to eat. You've been up all night. After you eat, go get some rest first. I shook my head while eating. No, just make me a cup of coffee. I'll do my best to finish the antidote before noon tomorrow. Jia Yunshu shook her head. No need to rush. I chuckled. This is the first time I've seen someone who's been poisoned and isn't anxious at all. As Jia Yunshu put food onto my plate, she said, "It's not that I'm not worried. I just have faith in you." In truth, she had a selfish wish. She hoped I would finish the antidote a little later, so she could keep me by her side a little longer. Jia Yunshu was afraid that once the antidote was made, I would leave. I looked at her and nodded. Jia Yunshu, I told you I'd save you, and I will definitely develop the antidote. After lunch, I planned to go back to the lab to continue my work, but Jia Yunshu firmly dragged me back to the bedroom to sleep. Helpless, I set an alarm for 2 hours later and lay down to rest. After making sure I had fallen asleep, Jia Yunshu turned off my alarm. She sat by the bedside for more than half an hour before finally leaving the bedroom. Jingshu was already waiting outside. Miss, we found out what you asked us to investigate yesterday. Jia Yunshu nodded and took Jingshu into the study. It was Jia Jingchuan who told Ji Huai. A cold glint flashed across Jia Yunshu's eyes. Just then, Jia Linger knocked on the study door. Come in, Jia Yunshu said. Jia Linger pushed the door open. She looked visibly upset. Sis, I just heard from the people at the old residence that Dad actually put Jia Jingchuan in full charge of organizing his 60th birthday banquet next month. What do you think Dad is trying to do? Is he planning to use the birthday banquet to announce Jia Jingchuan's identity and bring him back into the Jia family? Is that so? Jia Yunshu sneered. She had long expected Jia Zemin to allow Jia Jingchuan into the Jia family. She just hadn't expected him to act so quickly and even let him organize the birthday banquet. Was he afraid people wouldn't know how much he valued this illegitimate son? What did Mom say? Did she agree too? Jia Yunshu asked. At the mention of this, Jia Linger became even angrier. Not only did Mom agree, she even called me just now and said Jia Jingchuan had only just returned and wasn't familiar with the family situation, so she asked me to help him when I have time. Jia Linger was practically fuming. I've never seen such a generous woman. She's actually siding with her husband's illegitimate son. Jia Yunshu narrowed her eyes slightly. A mocking smile flashed in her eyes. Jia Linger looked at Jia Yunshu. Sis, we absolutely can't let Jia Jingchuan organize Dad's birthday banquet. Otherwise, what will people think of you? The eldest daughter of the Jia family. Jia Yunshu chuckled softly. What others think isn't important. What matters is what Dad thinks. What do you mean? Jia Yunshu replied calmly. Since Dad has already asked Jia Jingchuan to handle it, then let him do it. I don't have the energy to deal with it lately anyway. As long as they don't cross my bottom line, everything is negotiable. But Jia Linger hesitated. Jia Yunshu said, keep a close eye on the company for me lately. Tell me immediately if anything happens. Jia Linger nodded, suddenly remembering something. She asked, Sis, Dad wouldn't let Jia Jingchuan interfere in company matters, would he? That's hard to say. Jia Yunshu's gaze turned cold. After all, our father always does things no one expects. Jia Linger frowned deeply and said nothing. After staying awake all night, I slept especially soundly. Suddenly, a ringing sound woke me up. I thought it was my alarm, but when I picked up my phone, I realized it was a call. It was an unfamiliar number, an overseas number beginning with 0. I sat up and ran a hand through my hair, then answered the call. Hello? No one responded on the other end. Hello. I called out again, but there was still no sound. I glanced at my phone. The call was still connected. Just then, the bedroom door opened, and Jia Yunshu walked in. She saw me sitting on the bed, holding my phone with a dazed expression. You're awake, I rubbed my eyes and spoke into the phone again. Hello, who is this? Still, no one spoke. Whose call is it? Jia Yunshu asked. I yawned and shook my head. No one is speaking. They probably dialed the wrong number. With that, I ended the call. When I checked the time, it was already almost 5 in the afternoon. It's already this late. Why didn't my alarm go off? I turned it off. Jia Yunshu sat down beside the bed and gently stroked my eyelids. You've been too exhausted these past 2 days. You need to get some proper rest. I stretched. I'm fully recharged now. If everything goes smoothly, by this time tomorrow, I'll have developed the antidote. Jia Yunshu nodded. After pausing for 2 seconds, she asked, Ji Wai, was Jia Jingxuan the one who told you about the ice jade flower? I froze briefly, but didn't hide it from her and nodded. Jia Yunshu continued, apart from the ice jade flower, what else did he tell you? He also told me about your relationship. That was when I learned that he was your half-brother. And Jia Linger s too. I always thought the 3 of you were full siblings. I remembered what Zhou Suwei had said about Jia Linger back in Jincheng. At the time, I had found it strange. What kind of mother would call her own daughter an ungrateful child? Now I finally understood. Jia Linger wasn't her biological daughter. Jia Yunshu linked her arm through mine. Linger's biological mother died during childbirth, so my mother raised her from the moment she was born. I asked, what is your relationship with Jia Jingchuan like? Jia Yunshu thought for a moment, then answered with 4 words, an enemy, not a friend. I nodded. With a faint smile, he tried to persuade me to remarry you. He even said he didn't want to see you hurt by love. I almost thought the 2 of you had a wonderful sibling relationship. Really? Jia Yunshu raised an eyebrow, her expression unreadable. Jia Jingchuan is extremely calculating. You can't easily believe anything he says. I never took him seriously before. But after what happened this time, I can't underestimate him anymore. Jia Yunshu paused, then smiled. But you should seriously consider his suggestion that we remarry. I don't want to think about that right now. I threw off the covers, got out of bed, and washed up. Then I returned to the laboratory, in a child's room inside a castle beneath the Lins Mountains. Little Hedgehog sat in front of a computer, still holding the phone from the ended call. Her delicate little face was filled with grievance. I didn't dial the wrong number. It took me so much courage to make that call. Little Hedgehog opened the recording and played the call back. Hello? Hello. Who is this? No one spoke. They probably dialed the wrong number. There were only 4 brief lines. Yet Little Hedgehog listened to them again and again. Her soft little face was filled with anticipation. Daddy's voice sounds so nice. He must be incredibly handsome. I really want to meet Daddy. As she thought about it, Little Hedgehog remembered what the Big Demon King had said yesterday. She couldn't go see Daddy. Her appearance would only make him sad. Little Hedgehog hugged the phone tightly and sniffled. She pursed her lips and whispered, Daddy. After staying in Kyoto for 2 days, I finally managed to formulate an antidote for Kanyang poison using A117. I did everything I could to avoid using up all of A117. There were 15 milliliters left of each of the 3 components. I sealed the remaining solution into separate containers and locked them in a cabinet. I planned to take them back to Jiling Shuang in a few days. It was the best compromise I could come up with. As soon as the antidote was ready, one immediately brought the pill to Jia Yunshu. Zhang Xinru looked at the small pill I handed Jia Yunshu with obvious curiosity. So this is the antidote you made using A117? I nodded and looked at her seriously. Jia Yunshu, I used the principle of fighting poison with poison for the first 24 hours. After taking the antidote, you're probably going to feel terrible. But once you get through it, you'll be fine. Jia Yunshu looked at me, a faint smile on her lips. GY, you won't leave while I'm suffering, will you? I rolled my eyes. Are you really that afraid I'll leave? Jia Yunshu nodded. Yes, I am. Zhang Xinru looked speechless. The item was brought back, but the thief wasn't. Zhang Xinru had let the culprit escape. The other party isn't simple. I was lucky to recover A117 so smoothly this time. She had only succeeded because of luck. I gave a faint, insincere smile. It seems the thief is quite capable. Zhang Shinru snorted defiantly. Sooner or later, I'll catch that thief. I smiled. Good luck. Given Qiao Qiao's abilities, catching her was nothing but a dream. I poured Jia Yunshu a glass of warm water. Take it. Jia Yunshu didn't hesitate. She took a sip of water and swallowed the antidote 2 hours after taking it. Jia Yunshu developed a high fever. Cold sweat covered her entire body. I used rubbing alcohol to cool her down, while constantly monitoring her condition. At first, Jia Yunshu remained fully conscious, and occasionally spoke a few words to me. Before long, she fell unconscious. I stayed beside the bed without leaving, my heart hanging in suspense. Just then, my phone rang. I looked and saw that Jiling Shuang was calling. Holding the phone, I walked onto the balcony and answered the call. Hello. The next instant, the woman's furious voice exploded through the phone. Jiwai, you've got some nerve. You actually dared to cheat on me. Before I could speak, I snapped. Jiling Shuang, are you insane? Who cheated on you? You married another woman and still refused to admit it. I was about to argue with her when I suddenly heard Jia Yunshu let out a strained groan from the bedroom. Jiling Shuang, I'm busy right now. We'll talk when I have time. With that, I hung up immediately and rushed back to the bedside. I found Jia Yunshu's body convulsing slightly, so I immediately held down her shoulders. Jia Yunshu, hold on a little longer. I took the acupuncture kit out of the medical box. I was about to insert a few needles when my phone rang again. It was still Jiling Shuang calling. I had no patience left, so I turned off my phone. Inside the castle across the ocean, the woman sat in the executive chair with a gloomy expression, repeatedly dialing my number without giving up, until a recorded voice said, Sorry, the number you dialed is powered off. Please try again later. He turned it off. Jiling Shuang narrowed her eyes dangerously. Her gaze fell on the stack of documents on the desk, and her expression darkened to the extreme. Very well, he actually dared to turn off his phone. Does he think that means I can't do anything to him? Jiling Shuang gripped her phone tightly, fury surging in her eyes. Yuan, personally take some people to Waxia and bring my little thing back to me. Little thing, you actually dared to marry another woman. Unforgivable. Yuan stiffened in shock. Had she just called Ji Huai little thing, then Yuan clenched his fist and stared warily at the woman before him. After more than 2 years, Jiling Shuang's second personality had appeared again. Yuan hesitated for a few seconds before asking, What if he refuses to come back? If he refuses to return? Jiling Shuang smiled cruelly and casually tossed her phone onto the desk. Then break both his legs and carry him back. Yuan froze. With a loud bang, the study door was forcefully pushed open from outside. Little Hedgehog rushed in like a gust of wind and stretched out her arms, blocking Yuan with both hands. Like an angry little wolfhound, she glared at Jiling Shuang. Big Demon King wants to hurt Daddy. I won't allow it. Yuan was stunned. Little Hedgehog, why are you here? Jiling Shuang crossed her legs and stared coldly at Little Hedgehog. You heard everything. Little Hedgehog nodded firmly. She silently mouthed, You're not allowed to hurt my daddy. Jiling Shuang crooked a finger at her, motioning for Little Hedgehog to come over. Little Hedgehog walked over, her soft, bun-like face filled with unhappiness. Jiling Shuang reached out and lifted Little Hedgehog up, placing her on her lap. We haven't seen each other in 2 years. You've grown taller and heavier. Little Hedgehog looked at her in confusion. They had clearly seen each other at breakfast that morning. Jiling Shuang pinched Little Hedgehog's cheek. Little Hedgehog, disobedient people must be punished. Do you understand? Little Hedgehog shook her head. Don't you want to see him? Once I capture him and bring him back, I'll break his legs. Then he won't be able to go anywhere and can stay with you forever. Little Hedgehog's face instantly turned pale. She struggled fiercely and jumped off Jiling Shuang's lap. No, you're not allowed to hurt my daddy. Jiling Shuang chuckled and stood up. She gazed at the dazzling sunlight outside the window, smiling cruelly. Suddenly, something clung to her leg. Jiling Shuang lowered her head and raised an eyebrow at the adorable child hanging from it. Children really are troublesome. Little Hedgehog hugged her thigh tightly and refused to let go, shaking her head repeatedly. You want me to spare him? Little Hedgehog nodded. Ji-Ling Shuang laughed coldly and rubbed Little Hedgehog's head. That isn't impossible. But I stayed beside Jia Yunshu throughout the night. It wasn't until the following morning that her condition finally stabilized. I examined her and drew some blood, then had someone send it to the laboratory. The test results came back shortly afterward. The toxin level in her blood had decreased by 80%. I breathed a sigh of relief. I planned to wait a few hours before drawing her blood for another test. Only after Jia Yunshu's condition had stabilized somewhat did I remember Ji-Ling Shuang's call from last night. The call from Ji-Ling Shuang. I turned my phone back on and found several missed calls. I felt a little uneasy, judging from what Ji-Ling Shuang said last night. She seemed to have already learned about Jia Yunshu and me. This was going to be troublesome. With her possessiveness, she was bound to stir up more trouble. I originally intended to call her back, but after thinking it over, I gave up the idea. It would be better to explain everything face to face. After all, I still had to bring the remaining A117 back. Ji-Ling Shuang, I've been busy these past couple of days. Once I'm done, I'll come back and explain everything to you. I sent Ji-Ling Shuang a voice message. After sending it, I stood up and stretched, then left the bedroom and went downstairs. The moment I left, Jia Yunshu, who had been lying unconscious on the bed, opened her eyes. Once he's done, he'll go back to Ji-Ling Shuang. Jia Yunshu clenched her fists. A shadow fell over her slightly pale face. I went downstairs for a meal, and then hurried back upstairs to check on Jia Yunshu. Not long afterward, Jia Yunshu woke up. Jia Yunshu, how are you feeling? She looked at me, her voice weak. I don't have much strength. I helped her drink half a glass of water, and then examined her. I found that all of her vital indicators had stabilized. I drew your blood this morning for testing. The toxin level in your blood has already dropped by 80%. We'll draw another sample tonight. If everything goes well, the toxin should be completely eliminated. Jia Yunshu nodded, her eyes fixed on me. GY, you stayed by my side for an entire day and night. I gently patted Jia Yunshu on the shoulder. Your recovery is more important than anything else. Jia Yunshu said nothing. A complicated look appeared in her eyes. Just as she was about to say something, Jia Linger walked in carrying a tray. Sis, you're awake. Eat something. I set up the small bedside table and helped Jia Linger place the food on it. Jia Yunshu had not eaten all day. Although she was hungry, she had little appetite. After taking only a few bites, she couldn't eat anymore. That evening, I drew another blood sample from Jia Yunshu. When the results came back, the worry that had weighed on me for so long finally disappeared. Jia Yunshu was finally free of the setting sun poison. I let out a long sigh of relief. I handed the test results to Jia Yunshu. The poison has been neutralized. Rest properly for another 2 days, and you'll make a full recovery. Ji Huai, you're amazing. Jia Linger hugged me excitedly. I looked at the silent Jia Yunshu and raised an eyebrow slightly. Jia Yunshu, the poison is gone. Why don't you look happy at all? Jia Yunshu raised her eyes to look at me, her gaze gentle. I am happy. Ji Huai, thank you. Jia Linger linked her arm through mine and smiled. Sis, you really should thank Ji Huai properly. He hasn't had a proper rest these past few days. He even has dark circles under his eyes. Jia Yunshu checked the time. It's getting late. Go get some rest. I really had been exhausted lately. Now that Jia Yunshu was no longer in danger, I could finally sleep peacefully. After giving Jia Yunshu a few instructions, I returned to my own bedroom. After Jia Linger and I had both left, Jia Yunshu picked up her phone and sent Sheng Qianing a message. Half an hour later, Sheng Qianing arrived at Eugene Villa, looking at Jia Yunshu's blood test report. Sheng Qianing spoke with admiration. She really is impressive. She neutralized your poison in just a few days. Jia Yunshu leaned against the headboard, looking at her leisurely with her arms crossed. Did you bring what I asked for? Sheng Qianing pulled a small green glass bottle from her pocket. What do you need coriander powder for? You're allergic to coriander and normally won't touch it at all. Jia Yunshu reached out and took it. I have a use for it. Sheng Qianing frowned and looked at her in confusion. You're allergic to this. What use could it possibly have? Jia Yunshu glanced at her indifferently. You can leave now. Then she shook the small bottle in her hand. Keep this a secret. Sheng Qianing raised an eyebrow and looked at her with an amused smile. Ms. Jia, what are you planning this time? Why all the secrecy? Jia Yunshu stared at the bottle of coriander powder without saying anything. After Sheng Qianing left, Jia Yunshu got out of bed and poured herself a glass of warm water. Then she poured some coriander powder from the bottle into her hand and swallowed it with water. I finally got a peaceful night's sleep. When I woke up the next day, I washed up and went to Jia Yunshu's room. The moment I entered, I saw Jia Yunshu lying on the bed with her face flushed red. Her arms and neck were covered in small red spots. I was startled and quickly checked her breathing and pulse. I discovered that she had a fever. Jia Yunshu, what's wrong? I'm fine. It's just a little hard to breathe. Before she could finish speaking, she began coughing. I immediately had someone call the family doctor and bring my medical kit as well. Wasn't she perfectly fine yesterday? Why has she suddenly gotten worse again? Jia Linger looked at Jia Yunshu lying on the bed, pacing anxiously. After examining her, the doctor looked at me and said, Ms. Xia's condition appears to be an allergic reaction. I also believe Jia Yunshu was having an allergic reaction, and it was a severe allergic reaction. Jia Linger, besides coriander. Is Jia Yunshu allergic to anything else? I asked. Everyone in the villa knew that Jia Yunshu was allergic to coriander, so it would never appear anywhere in the villa. I had also been beside her during dinner yesterday and hadn't noticed any coriander. Jia Linger shook her head in confusion. No. Could it be a side effect of the antidote? One of the doctors asked. I frowned thoughtfully. Although the probability was low, it wasn't entirely impossible. After all, before this, no one had ever used A117 to formulate medicine, and there were no records of its side effects. We couldn't identify the allergen for now, but I didn't dwell on it. The most important thing was treating her allergic reaction. After more examinations and blood tests, we confirmed that the allergy had caused her fever and breathing difficulties. I immediately prescribed medication, including oral medicine and infra infusion. After all the treatment, Jia Yunshu's fever finally subsided that afternoon after the infusion. I was still worried, so I remained by her side without leaving. Because of the allergy, many small red spots had appeared on her arms. They were extremely itchy, but she couldn't scratch them. I applied a layer of anti-inflammatory, anti-itch ointment. My gaze fell on her arms. Lately, she had been having blood drawn almost twice a day, and her arms were covered in needle marks. It was painful to look at. I looked at Jia Yunshu and felt that the way she was looking at me was a little strange, as though she had something to say. I'm fine. Jia Yunshu took my hand, her voice slightly low. I made you worry again. I'm sorry. You don't need to apologize. As long as you recover, nothing else matters. Jia Yunshu stared at me without speaking. After I finished applying the medicine, I checked the gunshot wound on her right arm once more. Because she had been poisoned by the setting sun poison, the wound had kept becoming inflamed and had never fully healed. Now that the poison was gone, the inflammation quickly subsided. This was already the second time she had been injured because of me. Jia Yunshu chuckled softly. It's just a small scar. It'll heal soon. Without thinking, I blurted out, even if it leaves a scar, you're still beautiful. With a face like yours, you'd gain countless fans if you entered the entertainment industry. Really? Jia Yunshu looked at me with a smile. Thank you for the compliment, Ji Huai. I froze. How did I end up saying that out loud? I coughed awkwardly. Well, you're not that beautiful. I'd say you're just above average. Jia Yunshu raised an eyebrow, her voice carrying a hint of jealousy. Then compared to Jiling Shuang, which one of us is prettier? The corner of my mouth twitched. What's there to compare? How do you even know Jiling Shuang? I answered with a question. The last time Jia Yunshu mentioned Jiling Shuang, I'd wanted to ask her. Over the past few years, Jiling Shuang had practically lived in complete seclusion. On top of that, we hadn't seen each other in years. No matter how capable Jia Yunshu was, she shouldn't have been able to track Jiling Shuang through me. Besides, Jiling Shuang had kept an extremely low profile all these years and never personally appeared for business matters. Finding her was almost impossible. I have my ways. Jia Yunshu watched my expression closely. After a brief silence, she asked, "You seem afraid that I'll find out about her." I smiled faintly. "Not exactly. I'm just curious. Why you think I'm in love with her?" Jia Yunshu was startled. "The person you said you loved so much, wasn't it her? Could Ailey have lied to her?" "The person I loved was someone else. The person I truly loved had never been Ji-Ling Shuang." But I kept a completely serious expression. "It isn't Ji-Ling Shuang, but that doesn't stop me from pinning the blame on her." If Jia Yunshu kept pressing me, I really wouldn't have anyone else to use as a scapegoat. I looked at Jia Yunshu and said again, "The person I love is her." Anyway, Jia Yunshu would never be able to find Ji-Ling Shuang, so she could keep misunderstanding. Jia Yunshu narrowed her eyes slightly and asked in a hoarse voice, "Then why aren't you together?" "Because we've known each other too long, it was impossible to make a move. She doesn't love me that way." Jia Yunshu held my arm, her tone casual. "In that case, why not consider being with me instead?" "Jia Yunshu, I told you I only love her. When I lost my memory and liked you, it was because I mistook you for her." Jia Yunshu tightened her grip on my hand. Enough. She had already heard those words once. She didn't want to hear them again. Looking straight into my eyes, Jia Yunshu said, "A lifetime is long. You don't only fall in love with one person if you don't give it a try. How do you know you won't fall in love with me?" I pursed my lips, my voice tinged with disappointment. "You're right, Jia Yunshu. A lifetime is long. You don't only fall in love with one person, just like you love me now. One day you might fall for someone else." Jia Yunshu frowned. "So, you've learned to turn my own words against me. See, you have nothing to say now. Maybe you don't love me that much after all." Before I could finish speaking, Jia Yunshu suddenly stole a kiss from me. Afterward, she gently caressed my cheek, her eyes filled with tenderness. "Shi Huai, deep down, you like me a little too, don't you?" I gritted my teeth, and no. "Don't lie." I silently cursed to myself, then stood up and looked at Jia Yunshu. "You're beautiful. And you're amazing. But that doesn't mean I have to love you. Just because you love me. Get some rest." With that, I left the room without looking back. If I stayed any longer, I was afraid I wouldn't be able to control my emotions. I had clearly made up my mind to leave her. Yet I ruffled my hair in frustration. My thoughts were a complete mess. I went downstairs to get a can of beer, only to find Jia Linger directing the servants to clean the kitchen. I just asked the doctor. My sister's allergic reaction is exactly the same as when she's exposed to cilantro. I'm worried one of the servants accidentally bought some cilantro, so I had them thoroughly clean the kitchen. I nodded. Grab a can of beer from the refrigerator. "Why are you drinking? Are you in a bad mood?" I sighed. "Don't even ask." Jia Linger sat down beside me. "What's wrong? Did my sister upset you?" I opened the beer and took a sip. Then I sighed. "Not exactly." After a brief pause, I said to Jia Linger, "Linger, your sister confessed to me a couple of days ago." Jia Linger immediately sat up straight. "Really? Then did you accept?" I took a big gulp of beer and shook my head. "Linger, we're already divorced." Jia Linger excitedly grabbed my hand. "You can get remarried, even if you don't want to remarry my sister so soon. You could at least try dating her first." "Dating?" I stared blankly at the beer can in my hand. After thinking for a moment, I shook my head again. Yunshu will never stop looking for Aki. If she finds him one day, what am I supposed to do? I'd rather never be with her in the first place. Someone who's never tasted sweetness doesn't fear bitterness, but once you've tasted the sweetness of candy, it's hard to endure even the slightest pain afterward. She knew that deep down, I still loved her sister. But she also knew I couldn't let go of Aki. Jia Linger patted me on the shoulder. "All right. Let's not talk about that anymore." Then she suddenly remembered something. "Oh no, I forgot to give my sister her medicine for tonight." I put down my beer. Then I headed upstairs to Yunshu's bedroom. "Yunshu." I pushed the door open without knocking. The next second, I saw Jia Yunshu plunge a dagger into the gunshot wound on her right hand. Jia Yunshu hadn't expected me to walk in. By the time she tried to stop, It was already too late. The dagger pierced the wound that had yet to heal, and blood immediately poured out. I rushed over and snatched the dagger from her hand. Jia Yunshu, what are you doing? A dark look flashed across Jia Yunshu's eyes. She covered the bleeding wound. I'm fine. I shouted furiously. Fine? You're fine? You stabbed yourself with a knife. Do you have some kind of self-harm problem? Jia Yunshu was silent for 2 seconds. My hand slipped. I didn't do it on purpose. Who are you trying to fool? I was practically furious to death because of her. What nonsense about her hand slipping? She didn't do it on purpose? Even a 3-year-old child wouldn't accidentally hurt themselves this badly. Jia Yunshu lowered her eyes slightly, her gaze falling on her bloodstained arm. She said nothing. I gritted my teeth and pressed the dagger in my hand against her chest. If you want to die, stab yourself here. No one's stopping you? Jia Yunshu raised an eyebrow and met my reddened eyes. Jihuai, I don't want to die. My anger flared again. Then what do you call this if not trying to get yourself killed? Seeing that the wound was still bleeding heavily, I couldn't be bothered arguing with her anymore. I tossed the dagger aside and turned to get the medical kit. I took out gauze and hemostatic ointment. I glared at Jia Yunshu. Sit down. Jia Yunshu silently sat down. Although the stab wound hadn't damaged any tendons or bones, it had made her injury much worse. The previously stitched wound had split open again. I had no choice but to stitch it up once more. Halfway through suturing the wound, I looked at Jia Yunshu. Does it hurt? Jia Yunshu was silent for a moment, before nodding slightly. Yes, it hurts. I glared at her. If you know it hurts, why did you stab yourself? Jia Yunshu, are you an idiot? Despite what I said, when I continued stitching the wound, my movements became much gentler. After finally closing the wound, I applied hemostatic and anti-inflammatory ointment. Once I had finished everything, I looked at Jia Yunshu seriously. All right, tell me, why did you do that? After a pause, I added, I want the truth. Jia Yunshu stared into my eyes, her expression gradually darkening. The truth is, I don't want to recover so quickly. Why? Jia Yunshu clenched her jaw and said nothing. Suddenly, something occurred to me, and my heart tightened. I looked at Jia Yunshu solemnly. Jia Yunshu, you didn't deliberately trigger that allergic reaction too, did you? Jia Yunshu said nothing, but her reaction was as good as an admission. I shot to my feet. Jia Yunshu, what exactly are you trying to do? All this time, I had neglected food and sleep to make the antidote for her. Whenever anything happened to her, I worried myself sick. But what about her? The moment she started recovering, she began hurting herself. Jia Yunshu stood up, her eyes clouded with darkness. Jihuai, I don't want you to leave. Now, whenever she thought about me leaving her to go find Jiling Shuang, she couldn't control her emotions. She wanted to keep me here, no matter the cost. She wanted to keep me by her side. There were only 2 ways: either hurt me or hurt herself. Jia Yunshu decisively chose the latter. As long as her injuries didn't heal, I wouldn't leave. My eyes reddened with anger. So this was your plan to gain my sympathy? Just to make me stay? You were willing to hurt yourself. Jia Yunshu, you idiot. How could anyone do something this stupid? I'm sorry. Jia Yunshu knew that her method was manipulative and underhanded. But for now, she couldn't think of a better way. The man before her now was no longer the man who once loved her more than his own life. When it came to me, she had no sense of security and even less confidence. My nose stung, and I fought back the tears welling in my eyes. Jia Yunshu, the old you would never have done something this foolish. The high and mighty, all-powerful, eldest daughter of the Jia family had actually hurt herself just to keep someone from leaving. No one would believe it if word got out. Yet she had really done it. If I hadn't happened to enter without knocking just now and caught her in the act, who knew what else she might have done afterward? Just thinking about it made me shudder. There wasn't much expression on Jia Yunshu's face. That's because I never realized before how much I loved you, or how afraid I was of losing you. I clenched my fists tightly, overwhelmed by the urge to hit someone. She loved me this much. I should have been happy, yet I couldn't feel happy at all. Jia Yunshu, is this what you call love? I stared at her coldly. Someone who doesn't even cherish herself will never understand how to love someone else. With that, I walked out of the bedroom without looking back. The moment I stepped outside, I saw Jia Linger eavesdropping at the door. When she saw me, Jia Linger hurriedly stepped back. She said guiltily, "Sorry. I didn't mean to eavesdrop." She had only come upstairs because she'd heard me shouting. Who would have thought she'd overhear such a huge secret? Her sister really was ruthless. She had actually been that cruel to herself. I wasn't in the mood to deal with Jia Linger and returned to my own room. The moment I closed the door, I collapsed weakly onto the floor. Idiot, Jia Yunshu. I punched the carpet. Tears fell uncontrollably from my eyes, just to make me stay. Was all of this really worth it? How could anyone be this foolish? Just then, my phone rang. I wiped away my tears and picked up the phone. To my surprise, it was Yuan, whom I hadn't spoken to in a long time. Why was he calling me? Hello. I answered the call. There was a 2-second silence on the other end of the line before Yuan spoke. You're crying again. I rubbed my nose. Yuan. He was frighteningly perceptive. That's none of your business. Just tell me what you want. Jihuai, I'm in Kyoto. Do you want me to come find you, or will you come see me? I froze. What are you doing in Kyoto? Ji Lingshuang wants to see you. She sent me to bring you back. I frowned. Ji Lingshuang had said on the phone before that I had 1 week to return the A117 reagent. Only 3 days had passed, and she was already out of patience. She had actually sent Yuan to pick me up. Did something happen? Yuan didn't answer directly. Let's talk in person. I'm waiting for you at Kyoto airport. All right. See you soon. After hanging up, I quickly packed my things. Finally, I placed the remaining A117 reagent into my bag and walked out. When Jia Linger saw me carrying my suitcase, she asked, "Ji, why? You're leaving? I have something I need to take care of." Jia Linger immediately grabbed my arm. "But you've already cured my sister's poison. There shouldn't be any major problems from now on. Even if something does happen, the other doctors can handle it." The moment I finished speaking, the door to the master bedroom across the hall opened. Jia Yunshu walked out, her expression dark and stormy. "You're leaving?" I glanced at Jia Yunshu calmly. "My work here is done. Why would I stay any longer?" Jia Linger hurriedly said, "How can you say your work here is done? My sister hasn't fully recovered yet." "Ji, why? You're a doctor. You have to be responsible for your patient." I let out a cold laugh and looked at Jia Yunshu. "I'm a doctor, not a miracle worker. If someone insists on throwing her life away, there's nothing I can do to save her, no matter how responsible I want to be." Jia Linger kept signaling frantically to Jia Yunshu with her eyes. "Hurry up and apologize to Jihuai. Ask him to stay." Jia Yunshu walked over and stopped in front of me. "Where I'm going is none of your business." I looked at her coldly. "I'm in a hurry. Move out of the way, Jihuai. If you're angry about what happened just now." "I'm sorry. I'm not angry." I glared at her stubbornly. "The one who got hurt wasn't me, and I'm not the one in pain. There's no reason for me to get angry over someone who has nothing to do with me." A sharp pain gripped Jia Yunshu's heart. To him, had she really become someone irrelevant? Jia Yunshu grabbed my hand. "Jihuai." She didn't get the chance to finish. I shoved her away hard. "Move." With that, I headed downstairs. Jia Yunshu shouted, "Is it really so hard to stay by my side?" I met Jia Yunshu's turbulent gaze. Without the slightest hesitation, "Jia Yunshu, you can't stop me." Jia Yunshu nodded. She knew exactly how capable I was. But if she truly wanted to keep me, it wasn't completely impossible. Jia Yunshu gritted her teeth. "Jihuai, I'm not as kind as you think I am. Do you remember what I told you before? I really did think about breaking your legs and locking you away in this house." My eyes glistened with tears. I bent my knee and drove it toward Jia Yunshu's abdomen. As if she'd anticipated the move, she dodged sideways and twisted both of my arms behind my back. But I wasn't someone who could be subdued so easily. I immediately fought back. "Jihuai, sis." Jia Linger panicked nearby, frantically watching the two of us. How had they started fighting? Over a few words? She wanted to stop us, but she didn't know any martial arts and didn't dare get close. Jia Yunshu was still injured, and I had no intention of dragging the fight out. I spotted an opening and slipped away. Only after I ran downstairs did I realize that Jinzu had stationed a large group of bodyguards outside the living room. They stood there like an impenetrable wall. I turned around and looked at Jia Yunshu, who was standing at the top of the staircase on the second floor. Jia Yunshu, are you serious? She stared at me with darkened eyes. Silence filled the air. After a long pause, Jia Yunshu finally spoke. "Gy. I'm serious about you." With that, she raised her hand, signaling them to leave. Jinzu nodded and withdrew with the rest of the bodyguards. Precisely because she was serious, she couldn't bring herself to break my legs. She wouldn't even blink before hurting herself. But she simply couldn't bear to hurt me. Not even a little. Once the guards at the entrance withdrew, I curled my lips into a smile and glanced at Jia Yunshu. Then I turned and walked out. I had won the bet. Jia Yunshu simply couldn't bear it. "Will you come back?" Jia Yunshu's voice came from behind me. I paused for a moment. Depends on my mood. With that, I left the villa. Jia Yunshu watched my departing figure in silence. Her face clouded with gloom. "Sis, are you okay?" Jia Linger asked cautiously. "Jinzu," Jia Yunshu called. Jinzu immediately came in from outside. "Miss Jia, send someone to follow him and find out where he's going." After leaving Eugene Villa, I hailed a taxi straight to the airport. When I arrived, I called UN. A short while later, an airport staff member came to me and handed me a plane ticket to Lane City. UN was waiting for me in the airport VIP lounge. As soon as I walked in, I saw UN sitting in a massage chair reading documents. The moment he saw me, UN stood up. "Gy, long time no see." I handed my luggage to him. Then I sat down on the sofa. Before I could speak, UN said, "You really have been crying. Who bullied you?" He noticed my eyes were red and slightly swollen. I glared at him. "UN, it's been 3 years, and you're still so hopelessly dense. Why did Ji Lingshuang send you to pick me up? Unless it's something extremely important. She would never let you leave her side. Lingshuang was afraid you wouldn't come back, so she sent me here personally." After a pause, he added. Her exact words were, "If you refuse to come back, break your legs and carry you home." I was speechless. This was absolutely ridiculous. Day after day, why were these crazy women so obsessed with my legs? I looked at UN. Who made her this angry? UN gave a dry laugh. "Who do you think? She found out you married another woman." I immediately said, "It's all a misunderstanding. I had amnesia back then. Besides, I'm already divorced now. You can explain all that to her yourself." I let out a sigh. Just as I was about to speak, UN said, "There's another piece of bad news." I unscrewed a bottle of mineral water. "What bad news?" UN said, "Her second personality has resurfaced." PFFT. What did you say? I sprayed out a mouthful of water, nearly choking. Ji Lingshuang's second personality appeared. When? Right after she found out you had married another woman. UN looked at me with a forced smile, his expression clearly saying that this was all my fault. I knew Ji Lingshuang would definitely be furious after learning I had married someone else, but I honestly never imagined that it would bring out her second personality. The last time I faced Ji Lingshuang's second personality was 5 years ago. Thinking back to that time, I rubbed my forehead. My head ached. Ji Lingshuang's second personality was extremely dangerous, especially to me. I didn't want to face her, but at times like this, I had no choice. UN checked the time. It's time to board. Let's head back first. Okay, Miss Jia, Mr. Ji has gone to the airport. Someone met him there. They boarded tonight's flight to Lane City. Jinzu reported my movements after leaving Eugene Villa to Jia Yunshu, sitting behind her desk. Jia Yunshu said, "Keep following him. I want to find out exactly who Ji Lingshuang is." In Lane City, Yuan and I got off the plane. We had planned to drive straight back to the castle, but before we even got into the car, we received a call from a maid at Yuan Villa. She said Ji Lingshuang had returned to the villa. Yuan Villa was Ji Lingshuang's residence in the city. Over the past few years, she had always lived in the castle at the foot of the mountain, never leaving it. Why had she suddenly decided to stay at the villa today? Yuan gave the driver the villa's address. then turned to look at me, my face full of worry. Prepare yourself mentally. She won't let you off easily. Ji-Ling Shuang's second personality harbors deep hostility and possessiveness toward me. 5 years ago, she almost killed me. I pinched the bridge of my nose with a headache. I'm suddenly regretting coming back with you. With you and skills. If I truly refused to come back, there wasn't much he could do. Yuan spoke up. If you don't come back, Ling Shuang's primary personality won't return. The only person who can bring her back is you. I sighed. What did I do to deserve this? After thinking for a moment, Yuan said, if all else fails, we'll just knock her unconscious first. I shook my head. Unless it's absolutely necessary, it's best not to do that. Ji-Ling Shuang's dissociative identity disorder is rather complicated. Doing that could cause her primary personality to never wake up again. I glanced at my suitcase and sighed. I just hope that when she sees I brought back the No. 117 reagent, she won't be quite so angry. Yuan raised an eyebrow. You brought the No. 117 reagent back? Yeah, but only a small portion. At Yuan Villa, as soon as Yuan and I got out of the car, the butler came out to greet us. Second master, Mr. Yu, you're finally back. I nodded and asked as we walked inside, where's Ji-Ling Shuang? The old butler answered with a worried look. Miss went straight to the basement. After coming back this morning, she didn't even come out for lunch. And she's still down there. I said to Yuan, I'll go check on her. I just couldn't stop worrying. I'll come with you. Yuan nodded. Yuan Villa was a mansion Ji-Ling Shuang had personally designed and built several years ago. It was enormous, with 3 floors above ground and 3 below. Ji-Ling Shuang's primary personality hated darkness, so she never went into the basement. She even slept with the lights on every night. Her second personality, however, was the exact opposite. The darker the surroundings, the more excited she became. In the screening room on the first basement level, Yuan and I walked in and found her sitting on the floor playing a video game. She had completely wiped out the opposing team, leaving a trail of carnage. Not a single light was on in the room. The bluish glow from the projector cast an eerie light across her face. Yuan and I stood at the doorway, not daring to interrupt her. Before long, the match ended. The screen displayed Ji-Ling Shuang minus 33 consecutive victories. Only then did she turn to look at the two of us standing at the door. Little one, long time no see. Ji-Ling Shuang grinned, revealing a wicked smile. I stared at Ji-Ling Shuang. Her eyes were full of aggression, making me uneasy. I brought back the No. 117 reagent. Ji-Ling Shuang shook her head. I'm not interested in that. Only then did I remember that it was Ji-Ling Shuang's primary personality. Who needed the No. 117 reagent? Ji-Ling Shuang crossed her legs and crooked a finger at me. Come here. I took a deep breath and walked over. She patted the sofa beside her. Sit. I clenched my fist, repeatedly reminding myself to stay calm. When facing Ji-Ling Shuang's second personality, the best choice was to obey her. I obediently sat down beside her and asked, What do you want? Ji-Ling Shuang said nothing. She leaned in and sniffed my neck, then suddenly grabbed my throat and pinned me onto the sofa. Instinctively, I struggled. The next moment, my wrist turned cold. I stared in shock at the handcuff around my wrist. Damn it, Ji-Ling Shuang was even more unhinged than before. Seeing something was wrong, Yuan was about to rush over, but Ji-Ling Shuang hurled a cup at him. Get out, Yuan looked at me worriedly. I gave him a slight nod, signaling him to leave. At a time like this, provoking Ji-Ling Shuang would be unwise. Yuan nodded and backed out, still gripping my throat. Ji-Ling Shuang gently patted my face with her other hand. Little one, you smell like another woman. You've got some nerve. How dare you marry another woman behind my back? Tell me. How should I punish you? She was choking me, making it hard to breathe. No. Ji-Ling Shuang, can you be reasonable? Who I marry is my own business. It's none of your concern. A dangerous gleam flashed across Ji-Ling Shuang's eyes. She tightened her grip around my neck. I have no right. Why wouldn't I have the right? Little one, I exist because of you. You have to take responsibility for me to the very end. Besides, we've already bowed to heaven and earth. Bullshit. We were just paying our respects to our master, kneeling together, and kodoing a few times. How did that become a wedding ceremony? Trying to deny it. Heh, that's fine. As long as I remember. That's enough. Ji Lingshuang loosened her grip slightly and gently patted my face. If that won't do, we can always hold another ceremony. By the way, last time we only bowed to heaven and earth. We never got a marriage license. This time we'll get the license while we're at it. I shook my head. Are you kidding me? Yuan, Ji Lingshuang called loudly. Yuan hadn't left. He had been standing guard outside the door. Hearing her call, he immediately came in. Ji Lingshuang ordered, "Go make the arrangements. I'm marrying my little one tonight." No, Ji Lingshuang grabbed my throat again. Little one, you don't get to say no. My mind raced. I hurriedly said, "Isn't tonight a bit too rushed? I just spent more than 10 hours on a plane. I'm exhausted and filthy. It's really not a good time for a wedding. Why don't we pick a better date?" I needed a temporary solution. I had to calm her down first. Yuan nodded as well. That's right, a wedding needs preparation. Tonight is really too rushed. Ji Lingshuang frowned and thought for a moment. Finally, she nodded. Then we'll postpone it a little. She had just thought of something even more interesting. I had just breathed a sigh of relief when she added, "Then we'll hold the wedding tomorrow night." I was speechless. I had hoped to buy myself a few more days. Ji Lingshuang stood up and clapped her hands. Little one, I'm really looking forward to our wedding tomorrow. After a brief pause, Ji Lingshuang suddenly smiled. Since it's a wedding, it'll be more interesting if we invite some guests to witness it. What was the name of that woman? You were within Kyoto again? Jia Yunshu, right? My heart tightened. I hurriedly said, Ji Lingshuang. Jia Yunshu and I are already divorced. Ji Lingshuang's smile turned cold. You get this worked up just from mentioning her. Looks like you still have feelings for her. No. Before I could finish, Ji Lingshuang struck me with her palm. I didn't dodge. The blow landed squarely on my chest, and I immediately coughed up blood. "Why?" Yuan exclaimed in shock. Ji Lingshuang grabbed my throat, her voice filled with malice. Little one, I don't like seeing you worry about another woman, understand? You only have two choices now. Either behave yourself, or I'll kill you. Ji Lingshuang smiled sinisterly. After all, a dead man could no longer reject or betray her. I collapsed onto the sofa, repeating to myself, endure it, endure it, endure it. This wasn't the real Ji Lingshuang. This was only her second personality. I couldn't get angry, much less fight back against her. In the end, I took a deep breath and nodded. I'll behave. Ji Lingshuang laughed. She released me and looked at Yuan. Draft a wedding invitation. I want it sent to my little one's ex-wife. The more nervous I was about that woman, the more irritated Ji Lingshuang became. She wanted to see what exactly that woman was capable of to make her little one so heartbroken. At 3:30 a.m., Jia Yunshu, who was working late because she couldn't sleep, received a message from an unknown number. She glanced at it, and her pupils suddenly contracted. Miss Jia, tomorrow night at 10 o'clock, Ji Huai and I will be holding our wedding at Yuran Villa in Lane City. Country F. You are cordially invited to witness our happy moment. Jia Yunshu stared at the words on her phone, her expression turning icy. Lane City, Country F. That was where Ji Huai had gone. He was going to marry another woman. Jia Yunshu immediately dialed the sender's number. However, the call returned a message saying the number did not exist. It was a virtual number. Jia Yunshu then called my phone. It rang for a long time, just when Jia Yunshu thought no one would answer. The call finally connected. The person on the other end remained silent. Jia Yunshu narrowed her eyes dangerously. Her lips pressed into a thin line. You're not Ji Huai. Where is he? So, you figured it out. A woman's sinister voice came through the phone. My little one isn't available to answer right now. Jia Yunshu tightened her grip on the phone. What did you do to him? The woman on the other end paused. Her voice low and husky. My man, I can do whatever I want with him. Jia Yunshu looked at her phone. The call had suddenly ended. When she called back, it only said the phone was powered off. Jia Yunshu shot to her feet. Someone, Jinzhu, rushed in. Miss Jia. Prepare the helicopter. I'm going to country F. Meanwhile, at Yiren Villa, Ji Lingshuang frowned at the phone in her hand as it powered off. What a piece of junk. I wasn't even finished talking. Ji Lingshuang looked at me, waving the phone in her hand. Take a guess. Do you think she'll come? I tried to keep my voice calm. No. She and I have nothing to do with each other anymore. Really, but from her tone just now, she sounded very worried about you. Ji Lingshuang pinched my chin. Heh, then let's wait until tomorrow. If she comes, I'll definitely give her a gift she'll never forget. After all, she's taken care of you for quite a while, hasn't she? Ji Lingshuang left the basement. As soon as she was gone, I quickly unlocked the handcuffs. Yuan looked at me and said calmly, so you were pretending just now. If I hadn't acted weak, she would have abused me even worse. The biggest problem is that I can't fight back. I rubbed the spot where Ji Lingshuang had struck me. It really hurt. I had internal injuries. That last strike, Ji Lingshuang had used at least 70% of her strength. Yuan, help me back to my room. He lowered his voice and asked, what now? Are you really going to marry her tomorrow? I was planning to calm her down first and slowly help her first personality return. But after she spoke with Jia Yunshu, I've changed my mind. We have to end this quickly. We absolutely can't let Jia Yunshu cross paths with Ji Lingshuang's second personality. Otherwise, something terrible will happen. Tonight I'll find a chance to knock her unconscious first. Yuan frowned. Didn't you say that unless it was absolutely necessary, we shouldn't do that? I sighed. This is exactly that kind of situation. Yuan fell silent. I took a shower, changed into clean clothes, and turned my phone back on after charging it. I called Jia Yunshu, wanting to explain what had happened earlier, but her phone was turned off. I then called Jia Linger, and only then learned that Jia Yunshu had already left by helicopter. She was most likely already on her way. She would arrive in Lane City by tomorrow morning at the latest. After dinner, I went to Ji Lingshuang's room. I knocked, but there was no answer. Ji Lingshuang, I'm coming in. I pushed the door open. The bedroom was pitch black. I vaguely saw someone sitting on the balcony. I walked over and found Ji Lingshuang sitting on the balcony sofa, holding a glass of red wine and sipping it alone. Ji Lingshuang crossed her legs, her eyes fixed on me with a ruthless gaze. You actually dared to come. Aren't you afraid I'll kill you? I chuckled. Kill me. Then who will marry you tomorrow? Ji Lingshuang crooked her finger, and I sat down beside her. Little one, do you know how much I've missed you these past 5 years? If it weren't for Ji Lingshuang, I would have gone to find you long ago. I frowned. The Ji Lingshuang she was referring to was the primary personality. 5 years ago, after Ji Lingshuang's primary personality returned, she underwent extensive psychotherapy to suppress her second personality. To keep her inner darkness under control, she moved to the castle and lived in seclusion. For the past 5 years, the second personality had barely appeared. I thought it had disappeared for good. Who would have thought I'd trigger it again? But don't worry. From now on, there will no longer be anyone named Ji Lingshuang. There will only be me. My heart skipped a beat. You are Ji Lingshuang. Ji Lingshuang is you. Ji Lingshuang shook her head as she looked at me. I am Ji Lingshuang, but I'm also not Ji Lingshuang. Why don't you give me a new name? I twitched the corner of my mouth. How about Ji Rushuang? Ji Rushuang? She snorted in disdain and tilted her head back, draining the glass of red wine in one gulp. My eyes swept to her neck, seizing the opportunity. A glint flashed from the fingertips of my right hand. A dark gleam crossed Ji Lingshuang's eyes. She reacted instantly, grabbing my wrist. Little one, trying to ambush me. You're still too inexperienced. Before she could finish speaking, she suddenly felt something sharp prick her. A stinging pain shot through her. In an instant, her entire body went numb. Ji Lingshuang reached up to touch the sore spot on the back of her neck, and found a silver needle as fine as a strand of hair. I pushed her away and stood up. Ji Lingshuang, I've improved a lot over the past 5 years. The one who taught me traditional Chinese medicine was Ji-Ling Shuang herself. So Ji-Ling Shuang, like me, knows poisons and medicines inside out. Precisely because of that, if I tried to drug her, she would definitely notice. Other than drugging her unconscious, my only option was to use the silver needles I specialized in. Yuan, I shouted. Yuan had already been waiting outside. The moment she heard me call, she came in immediately. Ji-Ling Shuang collapsed onto the sofa, powerless. Staring sharply at Yuan and me. Yuan helped Ji-Ling Shuang onto the bed, then turned to me. What do we do next? Go to my room and bring me my acupuncture kit. That needle just now could only temporarily paralyze Ji-Ling Shuang's limbs, leaving her unable to move. Given her physical condition, she would recover in 2 hours at most. I needed to insert a few more needles before she recovered. Only then would I have enough time to awaken her first personality. Yuan soon brought me my acupuncture kit. I inserted several needles into Ji-Ling Shuang's head. Gradually, she couldn't even muster the strength to move a finger. Although she couldn't move, the way she looked at me was filled with murderous intent. Just you wait, little thing. I sat beside the bed and rolled my eyes. You're already at my mercy. And you still have the nerve to threaten me. You'd better kill me now. Otherwise, once I recover. I patted Ji-Ling Shuang on the cheek and gave her a teasing smile. Don't worry, I won't kill you. What are you planning to do? Ji-Ling Shuang looked at me suspiciously. I just want to have a heart-to-heart with you. I sat down beside Ji-Ling Shuang. Now it was time to put my acting skills to the test. I nodded and took Ji-Ling Shuang's cool hand in mine. Ji-Ling Shuang, a lot has actually happened to me over the past 2 years. Do you want to hear about it? I'll tell you everything. Ji-Ling Shuang stared at me without saying anything. 2 years ago, I was hunted down and severely injured. When I woke up, I couldn't remember anything. I told Ji-Ling Shuang everything that had happened to me over the past 2 years. Yuan sat silently on the sofa nearby, listening to me. What I told her was almost identical to what she had uncovered. After finishing my story, I put on a sorrowful expression, even letting my eyes turn red. I've had a miserable life these past 2 years. No one loved me or cared about me, and I was even bullied. So as soon as I regained my memories, I divorced Xia Yunshu. Ji-Ling Shuang narrowed her eyes coldly. She gave me a 2-word verdict, serves you right. I sniffled and said aggrievedly, you can't blame me entirely. I had lost my memory back then and couldn't remember anything. The moment I sounded wronged, Ji-Ling Shuang immediately panicked. I looked at her. Don't be angry anymore. Ji-Ling Shuang's expression changed, and she fell silent. Yuan rubbed her temples and got up to leave the bedroom. As soon as Yuan went downstairs, a bodyguard came in and reported, Ms. Yu, we've spotted a lot of suspicious people outside the villa. Yuan frowned and went to the surveillance room. Through the cameras around the villa, she discovered that many unfamiliar vehicles had indeed appeared nearby, almost completely surrounding Yuan Villa. Those vehicles had appeared half an hour earlier. Their intentions were unknown. Yuan narrowed her eyes, a dangerous chill flashing in them. Could they be enemies of Ling Shuang or Ji Huai? Whether they were or not, judging by their formation, they clearly hadn't come with good intentions. Yuan immediately ordered her men to keep a close watch on them. If they make any suspicious move, don't hold back. Yes, Yuan returned to the living room. Not long afterward, I came downstairs. How did it go? Yuan asked worriedly. Are you confident you can bring back her primary personality? I yawned. Hard to say. We'll have to see how she is when she wakes up tomorrow. At least her emotions have stabilized for now. Seeing how exhausted I looked, Yuan said, go get some rest first. I shook my head and picked up my phone to call Xia Yunshu again. But her phone was still turned off. After thinking for a moment, I sent Xia Yunshu a WeChat message instead. Xia Yunshu, the wedding Ji-Ling Shuang mentioned earlier isn't real. She was lying to you. Don't come. I'm fine right now. After sending the message, I thought for a moment and typed another one. Call me back after you land. Hopefully, as soon as Xia Yunshu got off the plane, she would see the messages I sent her. I didn't sleep all night. At dawn the next morning, Yuan knocked on my door. Ling Shuang is awake. The moment I heard that, I headed straight for her room. When I reached the door, I suddenly remembered something and turned to Yuan behind me. Her primary personality, or her second personality. Yuan shrugged. I can't tell. I hesitated for a moment, then pushed open the bedroom door. Ji-Ling Shuang had just sat up, Her body had only just begun to recover, and she still hadn't regained all her strength. The moment she saw me, her temper immediately flared. "GY, get these silver needles out of my head." Last night, to stabilize Ji Lingshuang's emotions, I had inserted a shallow needle into her biwei acupoint and hadn't removed it yet. I walked to the bedside and carefully studied Ji Lingshuang. "Are you Ji Lingshuang now? Or personality no?" 2. Ji Lingshuang stared at me as if I were an idiot and snapped. "I'm your dad." Anyone who could say that was definitely Ji Lingshuang's primary personality. "Stay still. I'll remove the needles." I walked over. Ji Lingshuang leaned impatiently against the headboard, staring at me coldly. After I removed the needles, she ran a hand through her hair. "When did you come back? And why does my head hurt?" I gave her a cold look. "You really don't remember anything." Yuan explained. "Your second personality came out." Ji Lingshuang froze and instinctively looked at me. The next second, she noticed the bruises on my neck. I met her gaze and said coldly, "That's not all. Yesterday, you also hit me so hard that I coughed up blood." Ji Lingshuang's eyes flickered. She gripped the blanket tightly, her knuckles turning white. "Are you an idiot? Did everything I taught you go in one ear and out the other? When I attack you, don't you know how to dodge?" Her yelling at me instantly made my temper flare. "Of course I do. I just didn't want to end up like last time, when you nearly killed me." Ji Lingshuang glared fiercely at me. "Get out. Just looking at you makes me angry." I was about to respond when a deafening crash suddenly came from downstairs. I jumped in surprise. "What's going on?" Ji Lingshuang remained sitting on the bed, without the slightest trace of panic on her face. She calmly asked, "What happened?" Yuan walked over to the window and looked outside. A black SUV had smashed straight through the villa's front gate. All the villa's bodyguards rushed out and surrounded the SUV. A large group of people also got out of the vehicles behind it, apparently intending to force their way inside. Yuan said, "Someone has broken in." I rushed to the window and looked down, just in time to see Jia Yunshu step out of the car. It really was her. My heart leaped into my throat. I threw open the window and shouted at the bodyguards below who were drawing their guns. "Stop. Don't hurt her." Jia Yunshu looked up, the moment her eyes landed on me standing on the second-floor balcony. The hostility on her face instantly vanished. "Ji Huai, thank God. He was safe." I hurried downstairs. "Second Master." The moment the bodyguards saw me, they respectfully stepped aside to let me through. "All of you, stand down." "Yes." At my command, all the bodyguards immediately withdrew. Jia Yunshu frowned slightly. They had called me Second Master. I ran up to Jia Yunshu. "Why did you come here? Didn't you see the messages I sent you?" My phone ran out of battery and shut down. As soon as she finished speaking, Jia Yunshu grabbed my arm. She stared at the bruises around my neck, her eyes turning ice-cold. "What happened to your neck? Who did this?" I pushed Jia Yunshu toward the car. "It's fine. This isn't the place to talk. You should leave first. If we're leaving together. I can't leave you here alone." Jia Yunshu cut me off and pulled me toward the car. At that moment, from a second-floor window, the barrel of a gun silently appeared. "Yunshu, watch out," Jinzhu suddenly shouted. I immediately shoved Jia Yunshu aside. Bang! The bullet struck the large tree by the villa entrance. My face instantly turned pale. If I hadn't pushed Jia Yunshu away just now, that bullet would have hit her. The bodyguards behind Jia Yunshu immediately rushed forward, shielding the two of us while aiming their guns at the second floor. "Don't shoot," I shouted. "You wish?" The woman standing by the second-floor window gritted her teeth angrily. "Ji Lingshuang, stop." Jia Yunshu raised an eyebrow. "So she's Ji Lingshuang? Why does she look like some seductive vixen?" On the second floor, Ji Lingshuang stood by the window, looking down at the woman beside me. Her pale blue eyes were filled with murderous intent. "My dear husband, is she the woman you've been fooling around with behind my back?" She looked somewhat familiar. Ji Lingshuang's words nearly made me cough up blood from anger. I was about to speak when Jia Yunshu pulled me closer to her side. "Miss, watch your language. I'm his ex-wife." Ji Lingshuang let out a cold laugh and aimed her gun at Jia Yunshu again. "I don't care who you are. Let go of him right now. You dare touch my man right in front of me. Do you think I'm dead?" Jia Yunshu stared at Ji Lingshuang with a dark expression. I've chosen him for this lifetime. I'll never let him go. I froze and turned to stare at Jia Yunshu. Murderous intent flashed in Ji Lingshuang's eyes. That's quite a bold claim. Ji Lingshuang, don't you dare. I looked toward Ji Lingshuang. My expression turned sharp. Ji Lingshuang stared at me, the hand holding the gun trembling slightly. I had never lost my temper with her like this before. This was the first time, and it was actually because of my ex-wife. Ji Huai. Let's go. Jia Yunshu didn't want to keep arguing with Ji Lingshuang. She took my hand and headed toward the car. Ji Huai. Ji Lingshuang's icy voice came from behind me. Try leaving with her. I looked at Jia Yunshu awkwardly, then glanced back at Ji Lingshuang. If I didn't leave with Jia Yunshu, she definitely wouldn't let this go, and she would inevitably clash with Ji Lingshuang. But if I left with Jia Yunshu, Ji Lingshuang wouldn't let it go either. We had only just managed to suppress her second personality. If this made it emerge again, things would get even worse. I looked at Jia Yunshu. Jia Yunshu, why don't you leave first? Once I've dealt with things here, I'll come find you. Ji Wai, this isn't negotiable. Jia Yunshu's attitude was firm. No matter what, she was taking me away today. I had no choice but to look at Ji Lingshuang. Ji Lingshuang, I'll see her off. I'll come back and explain everything afterward. I also shot Yuan, who was standing beside Ji Lingshuang, a meaningful look, signaling her to help me. Then I pulled Jia Yunshu into the car. Ji Lingshuang watched the convoy leave the villa. Her gaze gradually darkened. Only after the cars had disappeared completely from sight did she finally look away. Yuan, she called. Yuan replied, I'm here. Investigate her thoroughly. I want to know exactly who Ji Huai's ex-wife is. All right. Yuan nodded. Lane City was their territory. The moment Jia Yunshu arrived here, their people should have noticed her. But they hadn't. She had even brought her people here without making a sound. It seemed Jia Yunshu was no ordinary person. As soon as I got into the car, Jia Yunshu threw herself into my arms and held me tightly, so tightly that I could barely breathe. Was that woman the person you said you really liked? I wanted to explain, but after thinking for a long time, I didn't know what to say. All I could do was silently nod. Once you tell one lie, you need even more lies to cover it up. Jia Yunshu sneered, her voice dripping with jealousy. So, you like seductive vixens like her? I found Jia Yunshu's jealous expression rather amusing. Jia Yunshu gently stroked my neck, then asked word by word, did she cause the injuries on your neck? I nodded. She didn't do it on purpose. Ji Lingshuang doesn't want her second personality to appear either, but she can't control it. So this isn't her fault. Jia Yunshu slammed her fist against the seat, burning with rage. She hurt you this badly, and you're still defending her, Ji Huai. Do you really like her that much? Seeing the veins bulging on Jia Yunshu's forehead from anger, I decided I shouldn't provoke her any further. So I quietly said, actually, I don't like her that much. In truth, I didn't like Ji Lingshuang that way at all. A glimmer of hope appeared in Jia Yunshu's eyes. Then why are you still going to marry her? I sighed and explained. I never intended to marry her. She sent that message yesterday just to provoke you. Really? Jia Yunshu stared into my eyes. So I still have a chance. What chance, Before I could finish, the woman forcefully pressed her lips against mine, swallowing the rest of my words with her kiss. Seeing me suddenly collapse unconscious in her arms, Jia Yunshu's face instantly turned pale. Has the patient barely rested these past few days? Several indicators in his blood work are far above normal. He's severely overworked, sleep-deprived, and under intense mental stress. There are also some issues with his liver function, and the ECG indicates internal injuries. Jia Yunshu stood beside the hospital bed, listening as the doctor rattled off a long list of problems. Her brows were furrowed so tightly they could crush a mosquito. When the doctor mentioned the internal injuries, a murderous glint flashed in Jia Yunshu's eyes, and she clenched her fist. By the time I woke up, it was already evening. The pungent smell of disinfectant made me uncomfortable. Jia Yunshu had been sitting beside my bed the entire time. As soon as she saw me wake up, she immediately pressed the call button for the doctor. Jia Yunshu, what happened to me? I remembered Jia Yunshu kissing me, and after that, I couldn't remember anything. How did I end up in the hospital when I woke up? Jia Yunshu lowered her head and kissed my forehead. Her voice was gentle. You were too exhausted. You passed out. I closed my eyes for a moment, feeling utterly exhausted all over. The doctor arrived shortly afterward. There was nothing seriously wrong with me. I was simply overworked. The doctor examined me again and finally instructed me to get plenty of rest and eat properly. Doctor, can I leave after the IV is finished? I looked at the fur bag. There was less than half of it left. Taking responsibility for his patient, the doctor replied, I recommend staying overnight for observation. I frowned, clearly unhappy. I don't want to take your advice. I hate the smell of disinfectant in hospitals. I don't want to spend the night here. I looked at Jia Yunshu, about to tell her that I didn't want to stay for observation, when I heard her calmly instruct Jinzhu, go handle the discharge paperwork. I raised an eyebrow, instantly delighted. I thought you'd say the same thing as the doctor. Jia Yunshu held my hand. If you don't want to stay in the hospital, we'll go back to the hotel. I'll have a doctor come there to look after you. She didn't want me to be unhappy in the slightest. Warmth filled my heart. There's no need for that. I just haven't been getting enough rest lately. I only fainted because I was exhausted. One good night's sleep, and I'll be back to full strength. Jia Yunshu stared into my eyes. Her gaze turned icy. Then what about the internal injury? The corner of my mouth twitched speechlessly. I didn't expect them to discover that too. It's just that when I came back yesterday, I exchanged a few moves with Ji Lingxuang and suffered a minor injury. It's nothing. Jia Yunshu knew I wasn't telling the truth. I could take on 10 opponents in the ring without a problem. How could Ji Lingxuang possibly have given me an internal injury? Jia Yunshu wanted to say something but stopped. Her eyes were filled with sadness and self-blame. After the fur was finished, Jia Yunshu took me back to the hotel. Once we returned, I ate and drank my fill and regained some of my energy. Only then did I look at her seriously and say, you should return to Kyoto tomorrow. I need to go see Ji Lingxuang tomorrow. I still have something to discuss with her. Jia Yunshu's expression darkened. You still want to marry her? I already told you. She was lying to you. I'm not going to marry her. I glared at Jia Yunshu. You can go see her, but I'm going with you. I was utterly speechless and let out to dry chuckles. I wouldn't dare let you to meet again. If you start fighting, I won't even know who to help. Jia Yunshu stared at me expressionlessly. If you like her, you can just help her. I pursed my lips. Why did that sound so jealous? I can't be bothered arguing with you. I'm going to take a shower. I went into the bathroom. Jia Yunshu walked out onto the balcony and called Jinzhu. Investigate Ji Lingxuang's background thoroughly. I want the results by tomorrow morning. She hung up. Jia Yunshu stared into the pitch-black night, a ruthless gleam filling her eyes. Suddenly, a phone started ringing in the living room. Jia Yunshu walked over and realized it was my phone. She picked it up and looked at the caller ID. Lingxuang. What an intimate way to address her. Jia Yunshu's number was saved under her full name in my phone, while Ji Lingxuang was saved simply as Lingxuang. Jia Yunshu gripped the phone tightly. After hesitating for a few seconds, she answered the call. A woman's seductive voice came from the other end. Are you planning to stay out all night? Or do you need me to come pick you up? Jia Yunshu gripped the phone without saying anything. Ji Lingxuang fell silent for a moment. Then she suddenly laughed. You're not Ji Huai. After another few seconds of silence, Ji Lingxuang spoke again. Miss Jia. Where is my husband? Jia Yunshu replied calmly. He's taking a shower. He won't be going back tonight. Ji Lingxuang laughed, her voice carrying a wicked undertone. In that case, I'll have to ask you to take good care of my dear husband. He's a restless sleeper and likes to kick off the covers. Don't set the air conditioner to low. Jia Yunshu replied coldly. Ji Wai and I share the same bed for over 2 years. I know his sleeping habits better than you do. Not necessarily. After all, you've only known him for 2 years, while I've known him for more than a decade. So what? Jia Yunshu remained perfectly calm. Ji Lingxuang chuckled softly. Then she said, Miss Jia, you should have some time tomorrow, right? How about we meet? That was exactly what Jia Yunshu wanted. Tomorrow at noon. Hellenham Club on Roma Avenue. Fine. Jia Yunshu didn't continue arguing with Ji Lingxuang. She hung up as soon as she finished speaking. After thinking for a moment, she simply deleted the call record. Not long afterward, I came out of the bathroom after taking a shower. Jia Yunshu pulled me down beside her on the sofa and said, I need to go to the company around noon. Be good and rest at the hotel. Go take care of your business. You don't need to worry about me. Jia Yunshu's expression turned stern. The doctor said, you need to rest properly for 2 days, until you've fully recovered. I'll have someone stay here and keep an eye on you. I sighed helplessly. I could only compromise. Jia Yunshu had come in a hurry and only brought Jinzyu with her. Early the next morning, Yang Ting arrived as well. After I got up and ate breakfast, Jia Yunshu called the doctor over to examine me again. My overall condition had improved, but my internal injuries still needed time to heal. I didn't take such a minor injury too seriously. After all, I had suffered far worse injuries before. At noon, Jia Yunshu left the hotel with Yang Ting, leaving Jinzyu behind to protect me. I got bored staying in the room and wanted to go outside for some fresh air. I planned to get something to eat at a nearby mall. As soon as I walked out of the hotel, I saw an adorable little girl. She looked about 3 or 4 years old. Her little face was delicate and rosy, and her black, pearl-like eyes were exceptionally beautiful. Whose child was she? How could she be so pretty? I couldn't help looking at her a few more times. Perhaps she noticed my gaze, because the little girl turned to look at me. Our eyes met, and we both froze. An inexplicable feeling rose in my heart, as though something deep inside me had been touched. I stared into the little girl's eyes. For some reason, they suddenly seemed incredibly familiar. It felt like I had seen them somewhere before. Jinzyu looked at the little girl and smacked her lips. That child's eyes look a little like Jia Yunshu's. The moment Jinzyu said that, I suddenly realized why they looked familiar. No wonder. Looking more closely, her eyes really did resemble Jia Yunshu's. The little girl was all alone, with no adult around her. After thinking for a moment, I walked over and crouched down beside her. Sweetie, why are you here all by yourself? Where are your mom and dad? Judging by the child's skin tone and hair color, she was probably from Waxia, so I spoke to her in Chinese. The little girl blinked her big eyes and stared at me, her lips tightly pressed together without saying a word. Don't you understand? I repeated the question in the language of country F. The little girl still didn't speak, but her eyes suddenly turned red. Sweetie, don't cry. Did you get separated from your mom and dad? Uncle will help you find. Before I could finish, the little girl suddenly opened her arms. I froze. Did she want a hug? Who could refuse a request from such an adorable little child? I certainly couldn't, so I immediately reached out and pulled her into my arms. The little girl wrapped her arms tightly around my neck and buried her face against it. Her shoulders trembled. As she cried, Jinzyu said, Sir, why don't we call the police? They can help find her parents. The moment the little girl heard about calling the police, she hugged me even tighter, and her tears fell even harder. Don't cry. Don't cry. Uncle will personally help you find your mom and dad. Okay, I had never taken care of a child before, and had no idea how to comfort one. All I knew was to gently pat her back and soothe her. Fortunately, the little girl only sobbed for a little while, before quickly stopping her tears. Little one, can you tell me your name? I gently wiped away her tears. The little girl still didn't speak. She took a small phone out of her bag and typed on it. Little Hedgehog. Your name is Little Hedgehog. Little Hedgehog nodded. I looked at her in surprise. Could she not speak? Little Hedgehog, how old are you? I asked again. Little Hedgehog held up her fingers. Just as I had guessed, she was indeed 4 years old. I looked at the phone in her hand. Do you have your mom or dad's number in there? Uncle can help you contact them. Little Hedgehog handed me the phone. I took a look. There wasn't a single app on the phone. There were no saved contacts either, and no call history at all. The phone's only purpose was probably just for typing. Do you remember your mom or dad's phone number? I looked at Little Hedgehog. She hugged my neck tightly and shook her head. I was about to ask Jinzyu to check with the hotel front desk and see if anyone recognized the child, when suddenly, Little Hedgehog's stomach growled twice. She pouted and pointed at her stomach. I looked at her. Are you hungry? Little Hedgehog nodded. Then Uncle will take you to eat first. After we eat, I'll help you find your mom and dad, okay? Little Hedgehog nodded again. What do you want to eat? I asked. Little Hedgehog typed the name of a restaurant on her phone. I took a look. It was a 4-star teddy bear-themed children's restaurant. You want to eat here? Little Hedgehog nodded. All right, we'll go there. But it's quite far away. I looked at Jinzu. Jinzu, could you go to the convenience store and buy some cookies, bread, drinks, and things like that? I was worried Little Hedgehog might get hungry on the way, so I wanted to prepare some snacks for her. Jinzu nodded and opened the car door. All right, you two get in first. I'll be back in a moment. I carried Little Hedgehog into the car. The next moment, she suddenly leaned over and kissed me on the cheek. Then she held up her phone to show me what she had typed. Thank you, Uncle. I really like handsome Uncle. After the sentence, she even added an adorable hugging emoji. My heart practically melted at the sight. I rubbed Little Hedgehog's head. You're welcome. Uncle likes you too. I couldn't explain why, but from the very first moment I saw Little Hedgehog, I thought she was incredibly sweet and adorable. I couldn't help wanting to hug her and be close to her. Meanwhile, at the rooftop garden of the Clinham Club, the surroundings were peaceful, and the sunlight was just right. Ji Lingshuang held a tablet in her hands, reading all the information about Jia Yunshu. No wonder she dared to be so arrogant on her turf. It turned out that Jia Yunshu of the Jia family wasn't merely capable in the business world. Her influence even extended into the underworld. Interesting. I wonder what connection she has with that organization. Ji Lingshuang curled her lips into a wicked smile. She had searched for so many years, yet unexpectedly found a clue through Jia Yunshu. This is getting very interesting. Just then, Yuan received a phone call. After exchanging a few words, she hung up. She walked over to Ji Lingshuang and frowned. We were too busy yesterday. I forgot to remind you of something. Ji Lingshuang put down the tablet, picked up her wine glass, and took a sip. What is it? Little Hedgehog went to see Ahoy. Ji Lingshuang's expression instantly changed. Who let her go? Yuan looked at her. You did. Ji Lingshuang froze before realizing. My second personality. Send someone to bring her back to the castle immediately. Yuan nodded, just as she was about to call her subordinates. Ji Lingshuang spoke again. Wait. Ji Lingshuang drained the wine in her glass. After thinking for a moment, she said, forget it. Let her see him. Otherwise, she'll throw another tantrum and smash things when she gets back. Although Little Hedgehog was still a child, she was much more sensible than other children her age. She knew that in front of Ahoy, there were things she could say and things she couldn't. Yuan paused. What if Ahoy notices something? Ji Lingshuang snorted. Is he really that smart? While the two women were talking, a bodyguard approached. Boss, Miss Xia is here. Ji Lingshuang raised an eyebrow. Jia Yunshu approached, led by a waiter. She walked toward them, with only one person following behind her. Ji Lingshuang crossed her legs and leaned leisurely back in her chair. Ji Lingshuang gave a wicked smile. Miss Xia, you only brought one person with you. Aren't you afraid this might be a trap? Jia Yunshu sat down across from Ji Lingshuang. Her chin was slightly raised, exuding a calm air of arrogance. I never intended to be afraid. Ji Lingshuang sized Jia Yunshu up, a hint of mockery curling her seductive lips. Jia Yunshu of Kyoto, seeing you in person truly lives up to your reputation. Miss Xia, a qualified ex should be as good as dead. Jia Yunshu frowned. She remembered Ji Huai had said the same thing before. She looked at Ji Lingshuang, her entire body radiating an icy aura. I'm not a qualified ex, so I'm pursuing him again now. Pursuing him? Ji Lingshuang looked at Jia Yunshu with an amused expression. With your qualifications, Miss Xia, you could have any handsome man you wanted. Why waste your time going back to an ex? Jia Yunshu stared coldly at Ji Lingshuang. That's my business. It has nothing to do with you. You have no say in what I choose to do. Ji Lingshuang swirled the red wine in her glass, raising her chin defiantly. I'm not that bored. I'm only kindly reminding you that Awai said he would never accept you. Her tone was absolutely certain. What happened 5 years ago left a deep psychological scar on him. He won't accept any woman. Jia Yunshu stared at Ji Lingshuang, her gaze growing even colder. You won't know the outcome until you try. As long as he's single and unmarried, I still have a chance. Ji Lingshuang laughed. Then I'll wait and see. Jia Yunshu suddenly asked, did you ask me here today just to say all this? Ji Lingshuang shook her head. Mainly because yesterday at the villa, Awai chose to leave with you. That really pissed me off. Miss Xia, how about we make a bet? Jia Yunshu raised an eyebrow. What do you want to bet on? A beautiful curve appeared at the corner of Ji Ling Shuang's lips. Let's bet on whether Awai will remarry you. Do you dare? And what's at stake? Ji Ling Shuang thought for a moment. If Awai remarries you, I'll disappear from his life and never see him again. But if I'm the one he chooses in the end, then please be a proper ex, Miss Xia, and never appear before him again for the rest of your life.